kids. Call this meeting to order. We'll start out with roll call. Director Drake, if you'd start us, please.
Liz Drake, Director 3.
Hiroshietto, Director, District 5.
Claire Wilson, Director District 2.
Jeffrey McAnalloy, Director District 1.
Carol Gregory, Director, District 4.
Tammy Campbell, Superintendent.
And if you all please rise for the presentation of the colors of Todd Beamer High School, JROTC.
Forward, march. Color guard. Hold. Left, face. Reset. Color.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Forward, march. Color guard. Hold. Forward, color. Forward, march.
Please be seated. The first item this evening is the approval agenda. I would entertain a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education approve the meeting agenda of May 10th, 2016 as submitted.
Hear a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda of May 10, 2016 as submitted.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Right, our next item on the agenda is probably one of our favorite pieces. Oh, actually, it's not. Excuse me. Thanks, Dr. Campbell. So actually, it'll be the introduction of new administrative staff. Dr. Campbell?
At this time, I'd like to have Cassie Swenson come up to the mic, our Executive Director of Strategic Planning and Systems Alignment. She will introduce our new administrators. As you know, we are about to roll out a new strategic plan, and as a result of that work, we are assembling a team of leaders who can enact the plan so that we can actually follow through on the commitments we've made to our students, our scholars, and their families. So with that, I hand this over to Cassie Swenson.
Good evening, Board President McAnalloy, members of the board, and Superintendent Campbell. It is my pleasure to introduce new leadership to the administrative team at Federal Way Public Schools. First, in our new administrator announcements, I will introduce the individuals who will begin their leadership positions starting in July, beginning with our Learning Improvement Officer position. The Federal Way Public School System is committed to helping all of its students learn at high levels. While many factors affect student learning, the district's ability to support high-quality teaching in every classroom is essential to realizing that goal. Research indicates that principals play a primary role in the improvement of teaching at scale. To that end, Federal Way Public Schools is intensively focusing its central office on improving how it recruits, selects, and develops the highest quality principals. To that end, the position responsible for improving performance measured through growth in principal performance and student learning is the Learning Improvement Officer position. We are pleased to welcome Julie Ray, Marla Newton, Dr. Ginger Callison, and Dr. Chris Scott as learning improvement officers in the Office of the Superintendent. As an experienced instructional leader, Julie Ray has served in 2 districts, which includes 14 years in Federal Public Schools as principal, assistant principal, a dean of students, instructional coach, mathematics assessment facilitator, and teacher. She has led principal and staff professional development, including CEL 5D trainings at the school and district levels. These trainings included reflective practices in classrooms and sharing of best practices in instruction. She also facilitated in collaboration with researchers from the University of Washington, a math lab at Lakeland related to the inquiry cycle to leverage the leadership role of instructional practice through the roles and lenses of the principal and the instructional coach. Julie's hallmark is to inspire a commitment to meet the diverse needs of all students, create strong partnerships with parents and families, and increase student achievement using common data points to inform instruction. Marla Newton brings 16 years of administrative experience to the Learning Improvement Officer position.
Shouldn't they be coming up to say something? Each of them one at a time, probably?
We can do it that way.
Okay.
Sure.
Sure, okay.
Absolutely.
So
Julie
one at
Ray?
a time.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Cassie.
Yes, absolutely.
Good evening, Board President McAnally, Superintendent Dr. Campbell, and members of the board. I am honored and humbled to continue serving in the Federal Way School District as this new and exciting position as a Learning Improvement Officer. I am deeply committed to ensuring that all of our student scholars will receive high-quality instruction and are connected to all staff in their schools. I'm also blessed to have my own 2 children as part of this school district, and am deeply committed to all of our students. I look forward to supporting principals and schools as a Learning Improvement Officer to support a guaranteed and viable curriculum, ensure high-quality instruction in all of our schools, and offer high supports to implement the district strategic plan in all schools. Thank you very much.
Okay, and next we have Marla Newton, who brings 16 years of administrative experience in the Learning Improvement Officer position and has served in multiple districts, leading with a vision for continual growth and fostering positive relationships between students, staff, and community in a supportive educational system. In a previous district as principal, Marla Newton led efforts at her school, resulting in 2 Washington State Achievement Awards for overall excellence and reading. Marla is dedicated to serving all children and families and has engaged them in meaningful conversations related to curriculum and supporting achievement, and has recently partnered with the University of Washington to work on the professional development frame in mathematics. And now Marla Newton will come to the podium.
Good evening, Board President McAnally, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. It is an honor, and I am humbled to be working with such a dynamic educational team. I'm excited for the many changes that are occurring within the Federal Way Public Schools, and I am ready and eager to help lead the work. With the new organization of Central Office and the implementation of Learning Improvement Officers, I have every confidence that we will be structured to assure each and every scholar has a voice, a dream, and a bright future. Thank you.
Our next Learning Improvement Officer is Dr. Ginger Callison, who brings 23 years of secondary experience, including 8 years as a middle school principal and 9 years as an assistant principal at the middle and high school level. Currently, she serves as principal at Thunder Mountain Middle School in the Enumclaw School District, has delivered professional development for the infusion of the Common Core state standards in all subject areas, and has implemented the next generation science standards. Besides her work at Thunder Mountain, she has led the District Research and Design Committee in the implementation of the new evaluation system and trained members of the certificated bargaining committees in the implementation of the new system. In addition to her work as principal, she was a chemistry, biology, physical science teacher for 6 years. And now we welcome Dr. Ginger Callison to the podium.
Good evening, Board President McAnally, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. I am really happy to be here tonight. When a group of people unites around a common vision for education, great things happen in the lives of children. I am very excited to be joining you in your united efforts to ensure that all of the children in Federal Way receive an exceptional education. And I can't wait to get started. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce our Learning Improvement Officer, Dr. Chris Scott, who currently serves as the principal of Stevenson Elementary School in the Bellevue School District. Prior to working for Bellevue School District, he was principal of Tops K-8 School in Seattle and principal of the Fuller Gifted and Talented Magnet Elementary School in Raleigh, North Carolina. As a leader in public education, he has focused on strategically developing, implementing, and sustaining systems to address achievement and opportunity gaps for historically marginalized and economically disadvantaged children. During his tenure as principal, Dr. Scott's schools have been recognized for excellence in both academic and social emotional learning achievement, including the Washington State School of Distinction from the Center for Educational Excellence, the Student Growth Award from the Alliance for Education, the National Magnet School of Distinction Award from Magnet Schools of America, and the Green Ribbon PBIS School Award from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. Additionally, Dr. Scott has developed and coordinated efforts related to STEM education and a dual language Spanish program model in service of students that are linguistically, economically, and racially diverse. His teaching background is in English, language arts, and earth and physical science, and I'd like to welcome Dr. Chris Scott to the podium.
Good evening, Board President McAnally, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I've had a truly rewarding career in public education, working for equity and excellence, and I couldn't be more excited to bring that passion and perspective as part of the vision you have for every student in Federal Way Public Schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to welcome James Crawford, who has been selected as the Director of Assessment and Accountability. James has been principal at Valhalla Elementary since 2012 and previously served as assistant principal at Kylo Middle School. Prior to joining the Federal Way staff, James worked in the Puyallup School District as a high school teacher, a district-wide instructional coach assessment coordinator, and an on-time graduation specialist assessment coordinator. James holds a bachelor's degree in English from Washington State and a Master of Education degree from the University of Washington. Beginning in the fall, James will begin his doctoral program at Washington State University. Please join me in congratulating James Crawford as he comes to the podium.
Good evening, Board President McAnally, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. In taking on this new adventure, I'm excited and I'm deeply honored to continue the work of implementing the district's strategic plan in support of our school communities, principals, and teachers throughout Federal Way Public Schools toward increasing the success of our student scholars. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to the excitement of our work ahead.
Next, we have Dr. Melanie Stry, who has been selected as the Executive Director of Equity, Engagement, and Student and Family Success. Dr. Stry currently serves as principal of Neely O'Brien Elementary School in the Kent School District and has a passion for ensuring scholars graduate on time with college and career choices. She has a strong belief that schools offer solutions to larger social justice issues. Prior to her current position, she was Director of Standards-Based Instruction and Professional Learning for Pre to K-5 and Director of Race to the Top for the Renton School District. Previously, she served the Kent School District in a variety of roles, including Director of Student and Family Services and Principal of Horizon Elementary. She began her teaching career in Federal Way Public Schools at Mirror Lake Elementary. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Stry as our Executive Director of Equity, Engagement, and Student Family Success.
Good evening, and thank you, Board President McElnoy and members of the board and Dr. Tammy Campbell. It is with great honor and pleasure to be here, and just an amazing journey that I started, 18 years ago at Mirror Lake in the arms of some very caring and loving teachers and staff. And as I look out here tonight, I see the littlest scholars maybe thinking, who are these people? Well, we're here tonight because we serve you. And you have a strong passionate superintendent who cares about each and every single student in this room. So I am honored and blessed to be here tonight. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to introduce Performance Management Officer David Brower. David has been the principal of Decatur High School since 2012. Prior to Decatur, he was the principal of Sacagawea Middle School, assistant principal and academy principal at Todd Beamer High School, and served as dean of students at Illahee Middle School. Throughout his career, David has brought a focus on bringing people together for a common vision and helping people work together towards a common goal. He served a number of years as part of the district's negotiation team for collective bargaining with the FWEA. David will be overseeing labor relations, employee relations, and performance management in the Human Resources Department. Please join me in welcoming David Brower as the Performance Management Officer.
President McAnally, Board of Directors, and Dr. Campbell, I apologize for my voice. I don't usually sound like this. 15 years ago, I came to the Federal Way School District because I believed in the vision, the staff, and the students here. I stand before you with that vision and that belief in that vision reaffirmed. I'm humbled to work and serve in human resources and relish the opportunity to work with all employee groups to ensure that all of our scholars have access to that bright future that they all need and that they all deserve. Thank you.
And to conclude our new administrator announcements, I'm happy to welcome our newest administrative team member that began May 2nd, and that's the Director of Safety and Security, Paul Vang. Paul has a comprehensive background in law enforcement and corporate security management, including Police Commander Program Director for a large United Nations police operation, 5 years as a police officer gang investigator for the Appleton Police Department in Wisconsin, where he implemented gang and violence prevention initiatives, Deputy Marshal in Court Security, and a police officer in the Patrol Division for the City of Seattle. 3 years as a safety and security officer for Highline Public Schools as a patrol officer and conducting drug and gang prevention training, and also a security officer for the Federal Reserve Bank in Seattle. He is focused on building systems for the betterment of the safety and security of Federal Way Public Schools, and is committed to a close partnership with the Federal Way Police Department. He brings a broad multicultural perspective and is fluent in several languages. Please join me in welcoming Paul Vang as the Director of Safety and Security.
Good evening, Board President McNally, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. It is a special privilege and an honor for me to serve as a staff member of the Federal Way School District. I'm excited, looking forward to working with all stakeholders to ensure that our school district continues to be a safe and conducive learning and teaching environment for all students and staff members. Thank you.
Welcome and thank you. All right, our next item, as I shared earlier, is one of our most exciting things to do each board meeting, and that is our good news announcements.
Alrighty, so I get the pleasure of starting things off this evening, and we have a group, excuse me, that I'm going to call up. So first I'm going to call you up to the front, and then I'll read a little bit about why it is you're standing up here. So Demetrius Means. Lil Norma Molio. Elliot Lyons. Lacey Wright. David Long. Kendall Peterson. And I'd like to have teachers Lori Sokola and, Lori up here. So here we go. We're starting out the evening with recognition for Lakota Middle School's 2016 U.S. Department of Education Green Ribbon School Award. Only 47 schools in the United States received the award this year. To be selected, schools must display exemplary efforts in at least one of 3 green ribbon pillars. Lakota really shines in the 3rd pillar, which reads, providing effective environmental and sustainability education, incorporating science, technology, engineering, and math, civic skills, and green career pathways. Specifically, Lakota Middle School is home to the Integrated Environmental Sustainability Academy, a school within a school that advocates for environmental sustainability and stewardship. The academy was developed after Lakota students pushed for its creation during the 2011-2012 school year. Students learn all core subjects, language arts, math, science, and social studies by solving real-world problems through interdisciplinary, project-based sustainability learning with a service component. They design solutions to issues such as water and energy use, resource conservation, climate change, clean air, and sustainable food and product design, while all seeking to maximize the health of their communities, social equity, and sustainability economy. Tonight, we have 2 teachers with us, so I'm also going to call up Rosa Conklin. And they are both Rosa and Lori, who submitted the application for the Green Ribbon Award. Ms. Sokola has also brought along the following current year Environmental Sustainability Academy student learners. That's a lot of words, you guys. They're standing up in front of you right now. So Lakota is the 2nd Federal Way Public School to have achieved this distinction. Camelot Elementary became a Green Ribbon School in 2012. Congratulations, Lakota Middle School, on this terrific award. Come on up and take a picture if you want up front. All righty, let's give them a hand. And I apologize, Rasa.
It's my writing.
All righty. All righty. Okay, next up, I'm going to read first, then I'm going to call you up. So, here we go. Let's be ready, TJ. Are you ready? We have some yellow shirts in the audience. So, we are very proud tonight to honor the TJ High School robotics team, who recently competed in the national first robotics competition in St. Louis, Missouri. The Raider Artificial Intelligence Division, RAID, robotics team qualified for nationals by taking first place at the district championship in Portland, dominating 158 teams from across and around the Northwest. Today, they're also in the Federal Way Mirror, so if you go online, you'll see a great picture of them under the arch. And on the Facebook site as well, yes. So at Nationals, the team made its way to the semifinals in the Curie division by competing in a complex series of matches. During the matches, RAID teamed up with allies, other robotics teams, to navigate a course that was developed by Imagineers from the Walt Disney Company. Once the robot reached the other side of the course, it could shoot balls at the opposing tower in order to gain extra points. The RAID team was able to navigate all but one of the interchangeable obstacles, which alone set them apart from most of the other teams. Out of over 3,000 robots from around the world to compete in FIRST robotics competitions this year, the RAID team was ultimately placed at number 256 out of 3,000 robots. Tonight, we want to honor these student scholars for their thrilling run. Here we go. They are Alyssa Belsito, Jay Lee, Bruce Rogstad, Christian Knutson, Reese Johnson, Andrew Monk, Lance Bowie, Julia Sheets, Luke Sorensen, Royal Elder, Jared Whidden, Corey Byquist, Owen Anderson, Jaron Hoover, Angela Yu, and Harrison Fishburne. Coach Justin Mitchell. What? Oh, and Abby Hyde. Oh, I'm not doing very well tonight. So Coach Justin Mitchell, who also teaches math at TJ, is with us here this evening, as are the team's mentors, Todd Byquist, Michael Sorensen. Please come forward. Justin Mitchell, Cole Miller, and Jordan Chrissy. Congratulations to all of you for a job well done. If I missed anybody, please come forward.
Your project is to beat the photograph.
I'd like to say thank you for the badge. This is wonderful. And I'd like to offer my congratulations to all of you for your fabulous work. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, years and years. And I know you're going to carry on into the future doing even better. So well done. It's now my pleasure to celebrate and honor the Federal Way Public Schools Battle of the Books. Now in its 16th year, continues to attract great participation and encourage a love of reading among our student scholars. Each team has from 1 to 4 members who are in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade. Teams compete first on a school level to earn a place in the district Battle of the Books. On average, around 100 student scholars per school participate, which computes to around 2,000 young people district-wide. That's a lot of kids excited about reading. It's lovely to know this is going on. The 2016 Battle of the Books was held on April the 21st, and as in previous years, the results were very close, with the difference coming down to 1 or 2 incorrect answers. At least 100 family and community members were in the audience. We've invited the members of our 2 top scoring teams here tonight. I love the names. The second highest scoring team was Team Awesome 3.0 from Panther Lake. So I'd like to read your names and do come up. Cora Casperson, Aislinn Wynn, Nielde Shell Charles, and Lucy Aman. Lucy Aman. Yes, please, anyone from Panther Lake, do come up. And now, drum roll, the first place team and 2016 District Battle of the Books champions are Something Different from Green Gables. So, Anna Cockerham Twig, do come up. Anna, do come up. Christina Wynn, Sarah Long, and Haley Meerdunk. And please, anyone with the Green Gables team, do come up. I have got a few more words to say, but it would be nice to have you all up here for the photograph. The event continues to engage students and families thanks to the efforts of our district librarians. Panther Lake and Enterprise librarian Diane Chambier and Twin Lakes and Green Gables librarian Sue Flint are the district coordinators for the event. However, as Diane notes, the district battle is really a team effort with every facilitator doing some part. We especially want to thank Diane and Sue and the other heavy lifters. So do come up, Diane and Sue, even though you've been up already. And we'd also like, if they're in the audience, Valhalla librarian Julie Shields, Enterprise Office Manager Pam Todd, and Green Gables Principal Margot Hightower. Do come back up. Finally, the coaches, both librarians and classroom teachers, are instrumental in preparing the Bob Battle of the Books teams. We want to acknowledge Kristin Pugh and Dina Hagan of Panther Lake and Kim Silvernail from Green Gables. Congratulations to our Battle of the Books champs, and thank you to our dedicated staff.
And now I would like to introduce an amazing young woman from Totem Middle School, student Breck Mager. If you would come up, please. She has achieved state-level recognition from Duke's Talent Identification Program for her scores as a 7th grader on the American College Testing Exam, better known as the ACT test. Breck, whose goal is to be an astrophysicist, is in the Advanced Middle Years Program International Baccalaureate at Totem. The Duke Talent Identification Program registers eligible 7th graders to take either the ACT or SAT. Doing so allows students to have a greater insight into their abilities and gives them the opportunity to preview a college entrance exam. Breck took the ACT or ACT test in September this year and was in Sumner this year and was the only middle school age student taking the test at that location. Breck scored within the top 5% of all 7th graders taking the ACT nationwide. In addition to the state-level recognition ceremony with Duke, Breck will participate in the Summer Academy program at Appalachian State University for nearly 3 weeks in July. She will be part of the Design Challenges Engineering and Physics program there. Brecht, you have made us very proud. Congratulations.
Okay, next we have honorees that are part of the Earth Heroes at School program. The Earth Heroes at School celebrates King County students, teachers, staff, and volunteers who implement projects at their school or beyond to protect our environment. Nominees are outstanding advocates for conserving natural resources. Winners are honored each year at a reception featuring entertainment, refreshments, and an address by King County Executive Dow Constantine and presentation of awards. That event took place last Thursday, May the 5th, so tonight we're adding our thanks by honoring Federal Way Public Schools' 3 Earth Heroes at School winners. First up, from Todd Beamer High School, Malik Ford. Malik was nominated by the King County Green Schools program as an Earth Hero at School for his initiative in improving the recycling program at Todd Beamer High. Malik attended King County Green School Coalition meetings where he met representatives from other schools participating in the Green Schools program. He subsequently organized the first ever Todd Beamer High School Green Team, which has around a dozen members. This year, Malik has been promoting recycling in the school by attending staff meetings to talk to them about recycling, providing recycling bins to the classrooms, and working hand in hand with building custodians to ensure that recyclables don't end up in the landfill. So congratulations to Malik Ford. Next, we want to honor Camelot custodians Vasily McCarney and James Haney, who were nominated by coworker April Quint. Are Vasily and James here? April said that both Ms. Vasily and James, from the moment we brought up the possibility of becoming a more environmentally friendly school, Vasily and James enthusiastically jumped on board. Their support made it possible to seamlessly transition from a greenish school to a level 4 King County green school. James and Vasily's dedication has helped inspire the rest of the school to rethink their consumption, reduce waste, reuse, and recycle at both school and home. Congratulations and a big thank you to our Earth Heroes at School.
Next item on the agenda is the Legislative Liaison Update. Director Drake.
Thank you. At our work study last week, we discussed the district legislative platform and obviously supported and will be moving forward talking to our local legislators about the important issues that affect Federal Way. In addition to those platforms, as a team, we felt that the levy lid, levy cliff, was such an important issue that I was charged with going away and coming up with a proposal that we would then like to send on to WASDA's Legislative Assembly that will be held in September. I actually contacted WASDA, Jessica Vavras, who coordinates and works with legislative issues, and talked through with her the best way to move forward. And we looked, and in front of you, you have a packet with the Word document that will, if you approve this, move into the SurveyMonkey format that would go as the proposal. We talked through the various previous issues that had been raised that fell into levy lid, levy cliff auspices. And I've, in the document here, gone through, there are 3: levy rollback, levy equalization funding and formulas, and levy equalization levy lid. Something she was not sure of, and she researched and came back to me, is the one that seemed the closest, by no means the best, was levy rollbacks. It has been presented to WASDA's legislative committee for 2 years, and the rules, and I'm learning all this for the first time, the rules are that it has to be presented for 3 years before it becomes, and Jeffrey, Director McAnally, help me, SLP?
SLP, right, standing legislative priority.
That then gains momentum. It has additional power once it is a standing legislative priority. So her advice to me and to us is go with the levy rollback with the understanding that when the legislative committee meets in May, and our director, McAnally, our president, is on that committee, so he can verify this for us. They meet in May, and some change to the verbiage at that point can take place. But for it to become a standing legislative priority, it has to have the same wording. So even though it's not perfect, by going with this one, it provides us with the avenue to then have it crafted to meet our needs. And we have gone through, and I've filled out, I work very closely with Dr. Campbell and her team. We've gone back and forth. So this is a co-produced document with a lot of assistance, I know, from Sally and Danny. We've been on the phone with each other. So please know that this is totally co-constructed, and it speaks very clearly within the proposal to the specific issues that are relevant to Federal Way. So when the rewording takes place in May, they will be able to look at some of the specific issues that are relevant to Federal Way as a district. Does that make sense? So I went away. I've done my homework. I've communicated with all stakeholders here, and this is what I came up with. Any questions?
Any questions, directors? So first I want to thank you, Director Drake, for doing this. It's been a long time coming that this board is really being active in the legislative piece, bringing priorities forward that really do reflect what is important within Federal Way School District. What will happen from a legislative committee perspective, we actually meet in June and July, spend a day and a half in June and then a day and a half in July, taking everything that comes from the state and compiling all these into the existing priorities. And so the homework to know and tie it back to one specific piece and to move it forward as an SLP if we can get everybody on board. This impacts about 70% of the school districts. So I don't think it's going to be a hard thing and a hard sell to do. It definitely is a priority that needs to happen early, because if they don't do it by April 30th, we will have layoffs in those 70% of those school districts. And our impact is 8 elementary schools. The staff that it takes, certificated staff, to run 8 elementary schools if the legislature doesn't do their work by April 30th. So this is a huge piece, and I'll definitely be advocating and pushing. The other thing I'd also like to say is I'd ask you if you would please reach out to the to the group, to the Race to the Top team, and send it to them to get their buy-in as well, so we can get other districts, because as we do it, the more districts that buy in and say, yes, they support it, it just gives it more weight as well. So at this time, any other questions?
I have one.
Yes.
As I understand this, then, this will be reworded into an existing SL whatever,
SLP.
SLP, so that it's a standing issue to be taken to the legislature, so the immediacy of it can be addressed through that way. Okay.
Correct.
The conversation I had with Jessica was absolutely around that. If we don't piggyback on something that is existing, it won't move forward immediately. And so that's why doing it like this is critical.
And then the beauty of this is in September, we actually get to go and really help to push it through and make sure that it gets risen up and gets enough votes. Because then it's all of those 295 districts, whatever's there, usually about half, votes and prioritizes things. And then that becomes a priority. So this really could be one of those top 5 issues that we carry to the legislature next year in doing it the way that has been crafted.
And I would say regardless of whether it becomes a standing priority or not, we have an obligation and we have an opportunity as board directors to continue to advocate for what's best for us with our legislators. And I think we have our own priorities. WASDA has priorities. We have a lot of combined priorities, and this will give us strength and power. And I think as things move forward, that's where 5 members of a board are powerful, as well as we are private citizens as well, and can inform and impact decisions that are made both on our board, in our board role, and also as citizens. So I think it's a really important thing to do. So thank you so much, Liz.
So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to move this forward as a board.
I move that we request that WASDA include, what are we calling this?
We just submitted.
The Federal Way legislative proposal as part of the legislative submission process to be included for next year's legislative session.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It's a 5-0 vote. All right, next item is public comments. So we have several public comments this evening. I will just start out by saying you do have a 3-minute limit, even if you have presentations. That's included in that 3-minute time. And based on how many we have tonight, I will stick clearly and concisely to that. All right, so our first one is it Ariel Bevan? Sorry.
Excuse my handwriting.
No problem.
All right, good evening, All right, good evening, Board President McAnalloy, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. I'm a senior at Todd Beamer High School, and I just wanted to take a moment to say how appreciative I am for experiencing the classes that I have this year. I'm currently in a CWP class, which is Current World Problems. It's one of our civic options. It is a senior requirement. And personally, it's made me step out of my comfort zone a lot. Like in September, this is not something I would just willingly do. And it's made me appreciate our community a lot more and actually think about what's going on. And I just want to thank, the school and the Federal Way Public Schools for having this option and having this class and encouraging us as students to really step up and show and stand up for what we believe in. I've been able to have a great teacher, Miss Bergman. She's here with us. She's supporting a couple of other students that I have in my class. And recently, I have a partner in Malik and I. We're creating a system of respect and reaching out and showing kids that it's important to respect each other, because we see a lot of it going unmissed, and that's something kids hear over and over again, and it just goes over their head after the umpteenth time hearing it. And so that's something CWP has allowed me to experience and step out to do, is to really encourage kids and be part of kids' life. And I've had the ability to be a mentor, and I feel that this class has really pushed me over the limits of and the requirements of being a mentor. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for sharing. So Thong Lam.
Okay. Oh, there was two people, but
Is that Nathan with you as well?
yes.
Yeah, we're.
Okay.
So let's see.
So I'll give you a little bit of extra time because there's two of you, but not too much, okay? Let's just try to keep it as quickly as we can.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Board President Macanoli, and member of the board and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. It was a pleasure to be here, and I thank you for taking your time to listen to us. And this is me.
I'm a senior at Todd Beamer High School. I'm also in the current World Problems class. My teacher's Ms. Berman over there supporting us. Really appreciate it. My name is Nathan Ventura.
And I'm Tong Lam. We're both senior from Todd Beamer High School. Our topic is about our school lunch in our school district, and we have a concern about it. And Nate, you take the lead.
All right. So the problem is Michelle Obama's Healthy, Hungry, Free Kids Act limited the type of foods that should be served to students' nutrition. This includes no sugary products, serve no meals that contain high amounts of fat, no corn syrup, and no caffeine. Advantages of this law: it fixes the nutrition system. We just want to make sure everybody's healthy and having a healthier breakfast, healthier lunch. Prevents obesity, which is a great law, I think, so far. Healthier balance of the diet, ensures students receive nutrition they need during lunch. Promotes healthy eating habits. What is the problem? Government puts one-size-fit-all law into a diverse environment. Some kids burn up calories quickly, while others are trying to gain weight, especially if you're an athletic sport, athlete, do activities. The food is not appetizing. I know that for sure because I get school lunch, me and Tong do, and sometimes it's really not appetizing.
Okay, so in the next few couple slides, we can show you a couple lunch from first of all, our own country, USA. And then we'd like to show you such as Italy, France, South Korea, Spain. And if you notice something, all of these lunch looks very different from ours. And it's because we have such a basic lunch, and yet when you compare to every other country that have something just a bread, some kind of bread, grain, a fresh kind of produce, some kind of meat that was not like frozen for a while, and there was also some kind of soup. And so yeah, and we also took a picture of our lunch, and as you can see, this is my lunch from the school Todd Beamer, and if you look to the left, I think that's General Tso chicken.
Yeah.
And the second one was a drumstick and 4 potato.
Yeah. Okay, and then I was lunch number 2. I also got the same thing. It was orange chicken, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, as you could tell, 1 drumstick, and you could see how imbalanced it really is. What I got, the 1 drumstick compared with the potato balls, and then the rest of the stuff I got, it's really unbalanced. So yeah.
Okay, so how does this affect the school? Well, the thing is, we focus too much on this nutrition lunch that is overcost us, I think, to like really incorporate. And also, students like really actually skip a lot of lunch, and there's a lot of students skip lunch. They also see them like make up like weird eating habits, such as like eating chip for lunch or like just drinking a cup of coffee, and they say that's good. And that is definitely not good at all. And I thought it was really, and also everyone always throw away the fruit for some odd reason.
Yeah.
In the lunch.
So the solution is to hire school's personal nutritionists to make lunch plans better, to reduce the important box lunch and hire a chef to cook, just to improve the food better, make it more appetizing and so healthier. And if our other idea was for the solution is if we have leftover lunch from the day, I know I keep hearing that it gets tossed away. Our other solution was to give the rest of the lunches, the leftovers, to after-school activities such as sports, classes that are staying after school, students that really need it better.
And that's it. Our true goal for this was just change back the lunch with where it was a long time ago. It was tasty, but we now think that it wasn't. And to be honest, if you guys have, any of you have like a relative at home or anyone that go to Federal School District, ask them what kind of lunch do they eat. Tell them maybe it's a little bit creepy, but ask them to take a picture of their lunch and then compare it, and you see it's really, it's ironic because we make fun of this all the time on the internet, on the web and everything, and yet none of us ever change it. And I thought it was kind of ironic. So yeah, that's all I said.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next is it Diane Shabnir?
Oh, good, there's a timer. Good evening, Director, President McAnally. I should probably look at my notes, huh? Members of the board and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. I am Diane Shambier. I was here this evening celebrating my Panther battlers and took advantage of Dad doing bedtime routine to share something that is near and dear to my heart, which is advocacy for the librarians in this district. The time is now. The Federal Way Public Schools student scholars need full-time librarians now. I did leave some information with Carrie from the American Association of School Librarians with you. And I'm just going to share the first couple of slides from this presentation that I created along with several of the other librarians at the urging of Dr. Corbley last year to share our vision and what it is that school librarians can do for Federal Way Public Schools. It has been a decade since we did cut our library programs. We have half-time librarians at the elementary schools, and at this point, I believe we have 1.2 librarian at one of the secondary schools currently. So here is my slideshow. So the mission of a 21st century librarian is to create lifelong readers and to ensure that students and staff are effective and ethical users of ideas and information. The 21st century librarian is a reading advocate, an information technology teacher, and a resource manager. This comes directly from Washington State's K-12 Library Initiative. Reading advocacy. Tonight, I was here with my Panthers. That is probably the number one thing our elementary schools do, is instilling a love of learning and a love of reading in our students. And so reading advocacy is probably the largest role that I do while I am teaching. We develop and host literacy events to create excitement for reading, like the Battle of the Books and book fairs. We assist young readers in finding high interest and good fit books. Information technology. We teach essential research in 21st century technology skills, but not nearly enough time. We have half the time to teach that our neighboring school districts are teaching their students because we have half-time teacher librarians. We explicitly teach evaluation, analysis, and synthesis skills, all these skills that are now being assessed on Smarter Balanced. We use technology to teach students to communicate, create, and collaborate. We are resource managers. The new multi-million-dollar textbook adoption, you will be depending on your librarians to manage those resources and all of our technology. We develop appealing, timely, and relevant library collections. And I want to just get to here. This is the most powerful slide in the entire presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Fourth grade reading scores have dropped significantly.
Next is Maribel Montes de Oca.
Buenas tardes. Hello, I'm Maribel. I'm part of the One America, the immigrant refugee rights organization that has been partnering and organizing and supporting Federal Way communities, parents, and leaders, along with our partners like Open Doors for Multicultural Families. We're here today to testify on the lack of accountability and transparency around how the new multilingual director was chosen and appointed. We were invited by Superintendent Campbell and her team to participate in the interviews for the new multilingual director. being told that this would be the opportunity to have our ask for language access policy addressed at the district level. We took significant amounts of time to recruit parent leaders from our communities, and as a CBO, spent staff time to resource and sit in 8 hours of an interview that was proposed, with the understanding that our voice and perspective would be taken into consideration in the selection process. We were shocked and extremely disappointed to hear that the person hired was an internal appointee, that the interview committee did not get a chance to meet this individual and give input into whether the hire would be a good fit for our priorities. This is a key example of inauthentic community engagement. Efforts that replicate unilateral decision-making and inviting the community to the table for input, but then not giving us an authentic chance to participate in decision-making. This severs trust between the community and district. This is a pattern for Federal Way. If you remember, we were here last year at this time advocating for the lack of community input for the superintendent search. We heard the school board's apology, but see this pattern repeating again. These sort of processes break significant trust with the community and make us feel used and taken advantage of because we're used for input in our opinion, but don't actually have input in the final decision that's made. At this point, we don't trust that even going back and redoing this hiring process would result in a different outcome. A significant shift needs to happen in how the district works with the community, and we want the school board and the superintendent to take ownership and responsibility of this. We still want to see movement on language access policy and procedures by the school board, as we have also not yet heard a response from our school board members, even though we've reached out with emails to try and get more of an understanding. This is something that's going to be echoed by some of the parents and youth that are going to be testifying, but we'd also be happy to follow up with you all, as this was something that y'all had committed to, that Superintendent Campbell was going to be taking the lead on. So we want to really engage on what are the next steps and what do you all as a board, as superintendent, suggest on the next steps around this. So thank you for hearing us, and we hope to be in communication. Gracias.
Teresa Garcia.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Superintendent Dr. Campbell. My name is Teresa. I am here today wearing my many hats, but the most important one is as a parent, community member, part of Empower Familias Alliance, the group of parents leaders here in Federal Way, and One America leader. Today I want to share with you my thoughts. I was here in the past with around 30 parents and youths and CBOs asking you for the language access policy. That day, we came out to the room with the promise that we are going to be part of this process. I was part of it. I was on the interview panelist. And that day, I discovered that there were only 2 people. And I got like, why only 2 people? And somebody came back and explained us the reason why. And I was agree, because it was correct what I heard. But that day, they said that it's going to be continue opening until more people apply and until the school board and Superintendent Dr. Campbell find the person who will be the right one for the multicultural director. That day, I was thinking that the past process, they called me on the past for a second part of the interview to hear more options. In this case was different. I got like probably 3 or 4 days after an email letting me know about the person who is going to be the new director. And I felt like, wow, okay, it was surprised me because I didn't know if the parent community was hearing us as input, or if why we didn't hear about this person on the interview process with the other 2 that I was part of it. Right now, I feel different. I feel like, what happened that day? Why the community and parents, we didn't get invited to take an input on this decision? I would like to ask you again, do not forget about the language access policy. We need to support our immigrants and our ELL students' kids. And I really would like to continue working with you and being as a volunteer as I am right now. And I really want to see if we had this great opportunity to choose Dr. Campbell, I would like to be part of this great family. I would like to be like giving more that I have. Me and more parents. I am not the only one. As you know, and I always told you, they are not brave enough to be here. But at least I am here representing them, and please try to continue asking for our help. We are going to be here because I felt something different right now. Thank you.
Thank you. David Nuno. So you're not David.
It's Danya, but
Oh, I'm sorry, Danya.
no,
You look
you're
like
good.
David.
It's
All right.
okay.
Sorry, Danya.
My handwriting isn't that great
Okay,
either.
thank you.
So, good evening, Board President McAnally, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. The reason I have come here to testify is because of how the appointment of the new multilingual director was not transparent and led to severing the trust our community had put in all of you. I can't express the disappointment I felt when I heard that the new director was someone that wasn't even in the interview process. And I ask myself still, after all of us have asked each other the same question, why? All of the hours we have spent organizing ourselves, parents and youth, strategizing how to approach the school board and the superintendent with care, empathy, in our words, about very real needs. Not just to benefit our immigrant and refugee communities, but for the children, all children, general education, ELL, special needs. I worry about how our children are being heard when their parents are not being heard and respected. I find it frightening to think that the people that are supposed to work with us to make the best district and community possible have decided to hear the need of our community and to the end result of not being listened to and responded, but instead pushed the responses into other people and avoided giving prompt responses. We are communities and people with good intentions, only wanting the best for our scholars. We ask again to see a shift in how the community is engaged around affairs concerning our students, and for your support for the community's definition of language access. With a heavy heart, I say, thank you.
Thank you. Maria Reyes?
She's not here.
Okay, thank you. Deanna Nugent and Phyllis Fitzsimmons.
Phyllis had to leave, so it's just me. There's no imaginary person. Good evening, Board President McAnall, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. My name is Deanna Nugent, and I'm the event lead here in Federal Way for the Relay of Life event that actually have been the event lead for 3 years now. I just wanted to let you know, and everybody here, that our relay this year is not this Friday, but the following Friday and Saturday, May 20th and 21st. But the reason why I'm here at the school board meeting is to let you know that 2 years ago we made a concerted effort to involve the youth. We had 1 or maybe 2 youth teams in the years past. We've had this event going on for over a dozen years now. And we wanted to engage them. And so we went to the high schools, all 4, and sat down and talked and said, why aren't you coming? And we found out that our dates were actually mashing with some events because it comes during graduation time. And so we moved our event up just so we could accommodate them 2 years ago. And we've kept this date now. And we had 4 teams from TJ last year, 4. And we have representatives from all 4 high schools again this year. We had, and I tried to look up the numbers before I got here, but I just want to let you know, we're not talking about 4 kids. We're talking about a couple of hundred kids who, not all of them, or a couple of hundred signed up. Not all of them earned the right to stay overnight, but many did, about 100. They worked on, with their teachers, to have chaperones. They earned the right because they had to raise a certain amount of money and do some other things to be able to stay overnight, which they did. They were a pleasure to have. Really, there was not one issue. They were the best, and I'm so looking forward to them having them again. I did bring some brochures because I would like to personally invite you all, every one of you, to come to our event. It's a great event, but it's not just about raising money, and I should tell you, it is the #1 fundraiser for the American Cancer Society because cancer touches all of us. But this event is actually for our community. It's about awareness because cancer touches everybody. Not one person in this room doesn't know somebody in their family, their friends that they work with, or themselves who has been touched by cancer. And we want everybody to know not just that cancer happens, but we talk about the prevention of cancer. We have a health and wellness fair for healthy options such as food, or the other thing is about getting your screening. So we have a big awareness and education session about when you should get your screenings. And by the way, by 50, everybody should be having that one appointment that nobody wants to have, but that's our big push this year. Anyway, I have these, and if I could approach and give them to you or just put some over here, that would be great, and then I'll be done. But thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for your time. All right, our next item on the agenda is comments from our superintendent, Dr. Campbell.
Well, I am excited to talk about the rollout of our strategic plan. Over the next 10 days, we will be pulling together our principals, and we will be sharing with them the contents of that plan so they can share it out at every single school, so that every single one of our staff members get an opportunity to look at the plan, look at the goals, look at our mission, beliefs, give us feedback about strategies. We're committed to being transparent. We're committed to partnering and getting input. And our staff are the next phase of this. If you recall, we've already had over 3,000 voices providing input on this plan. And when you look inside the plan, you're going to see some powerful metrics that are really designed to steer the organization towards even better improvement. So I'm really excited about that, and there will be more to come. In the coming weeks, I'll be sharing that plan with the board as well as with our larger community so that our CBOs and other organizations have a clearer sense of how to partner with us. Really exciting time. I've been out in schools, and I'm really excited about what I'm seeing in terms of staff working with our student scholars, and I want to thank every single one of them for the work they do every day on behalf of Federal Way Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, school board comments. Director Gregory, would you like to start us this evening?
I would just speak briefly because I think many of my colleagues will do the same. We've been having the board recognition nights at different schools, and it's just amazing to see the excitement. And for us to hear and honor those who are doing such good work in our schools, not only our teachers, but our students and parents and volunteers. And if you have not been to one of these board recognition nights, I would strongly urge that you find when your local school is being involved and go and hear this event, because a lot of students who you normally wouldn't recognize or wouldn't be recognized are recognized at these events, as well as many in our community. So I thank the staff who does all the work to put these on. They're really worthwhile. And as many of us have said as board members, it's the most fun we have all year. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice President Wilson?
I will follow up just to say, in my role as WASDA Board Director for the State Association, that we did select Timothy Garchow as the new Executive Director of WASDA, and Timothy is currently the Superintendent at Rainier School District, so has put them in a bit of a tizzy because they're now in the process of a superintendent search. But we do have a board director, two-day board director meeting this weekend where Tim will be joining us as we begin the transition between Alan Burke and Tim in the new role. Again, school board recognition, they're great. It's not the only time we celebrate, and I think that's something that we've been sharing, that the Heroes Breakfast and also our good news announcements here at the board are a way for us to continue to talk about the great things happening in Federal Way. I was representing the district at our third equity convening that occurred the same day as the rollout of the strategic plan, and was very proud to be able to introduce Sende Jacobs-Kalin, who we've honored before here, who did spoken word and really opened the convening to leave a haunting message for the 160-plus people that represented 19 school districts in the two-county area to really think about their work related to race equity and their role in making a difference for young people. And he was quite an orator and quite a provocateur, and spent some time with the table full of individuals that were also keynote speakers, and spent part of the day with us, and then jetted back to Taft Academy, where he is a senior, soon to graduate. So we were very proud to have him there. I also just came from Rainier View, where they had a preschool night, and I was invited by our early learning staff to come take a peek and a visit, and we're doing those kinds of things that get kids ready for school, and kind of summer kind of activities with families. And they were doing pizza, and it was just lots of families and lots of fun. I was also excited to see they have lots of things happening. On the 13th, they're having a boys' night out for the guys that are at school. So there's just lots of stuff happening in our schools on behalf of our children. And I guess the only other thing I would say, two things: student voice around school lunch, critically important. I know those young men are gone because they've probably gone to do homework, but clearly nutritious food is important. And we have a great garden project in our community, and hoping there's some way we can begin to really think about how we make some connections there, because we feed many, many seniors with thousands and thousands of pounds of food in our community, and could be potentially doing some of those same things in our own school. And then I guess I will also say that things never move as quickly as we'd like them to move. And when we think about the strategic plan, we have to roll the strategic plan out and be really thoughtful about that. And then from the plan, I think other policies and changes emerge. And there's work that's always been going on in our district for many, many years. And we've also recently had a change in leadership. And sometimes things start down a path, and when you have a change in leadership, that path changes directions. And that direction is not because it was a good or bad thing, but it doesn't necessarily meet the needs, nor is it really the right thing to do with our time, because sometimes things change. And so I know for 3 steps forward, sometimes it feels like there's 2 steps back. But if we do things prematurely, and we don't really do things with fidelity for the right reason, on behalf of all of our kids and our families, and especially those that struggle with communicating with us, specifically around language, then it'll be all for naught, and it can't come soon enough. And I understand that. And it's a process. And so I hope that our partners continue to stay in that partnership stance and in a learner stance. I think there's always things that we can do differently, but for all intents and purposes, it's for the right reason, and we need to be assuming best intentions. And I hope that our community partners will continue to engage us in those conversations, because it's all about the kids. And I think there's not a board director up here that would say differently, nor any of our leaders, nor our superintendent. But sometimes things have to take a different turn than we first planned. And so I think it's just taking a breath and just working together. So I really appreciate the time people came today to speak, and to speak their voice, because their perspective is their truth. And each of us have to do our best on behalf of not only the children, but the families in this district. So I will continue to do that as I have. So thank you.
Director Eto.
Thank you. I'll put my comments toward the legislative platform. The work study that we had last week, it's a public meeting, but they're not recorded, the voice are recorded, and the public generally is not in attendance. So I think it kind of is important to have a broader context for the vote we took earlier. At the work-study meeting, the top priority was for the legislature to fix the funding formula, because right now, the way the funds are allocated are unfair. And that is why we then need to tax ourselves to fund the balance of basic education through these levies. And so the second tier was an emphasis on the levy. We had also taken a vote at that work study to support the Tukwila School District, I believe, who was advocating for homeless students and providing more services under the McKinney-Vento category. And there was also a Tukwila School District initiative that was seeking additional funding for school counselors, which I thought was a good thing. And we did vote to push those forward, and also on a platform that talked about our priorities. And it was in a nice format that I believe would be very good for the public to have, so that they can advocate for us to go to their legislators, because I think that is the bigger leverage than anything a board can do in moving something through school board associations to a legislative body. So I'm hoping that although the issue that we voted on today is very important relative to allowing us to continue to have that levy in place if the legislature doesn't fix the funding formula, because otherwise, as President McAnally mentioned, we'd have to close some facilities. So I'm hoping that those things that we voted on at the work study continue to be things that we advocate for, and that the priorities that we put forward into this legislative platform becomes available to the public so they can advocate on our behalf.
The only thing I would add is the proposals came from the Tukwila School Board, not the district. So that's a board director function in their role as board directors and in the role with the association. So just want to make sure people are clear on that.
Thank you. Director Drake.
It's been yet another 2 weeks of exciting happenings and very positive events. The strategic planning meeting, the Heroes Banquet, and a number of school board recognitions. But what I really want to focus on tonight is reflecting on my almost 5 months in this role. A day doesn't go by that someone asks me, how's it going? What's it like being on the school board? And my response is so positive. And my comments up here are so positive. The strategic planning meeting, Dr. Campbell asked those directors that were present to give some feedback, give some points about the process, what we're thinking about the strategic plan. I love being positive. There are times in the few years that I've been in Federal Way Public Schools that I wasn't always able to be positive. So please, those of you that don't know me well, please realize that my positive frame of mind is because the direction we are now taking with Dr. Campbell, the leadership team, the additional leadership team that's coming on board, is just tremendous. The strategic planning meeting, it was called a soft rollout. I love that because it wasn't, here it is, it's done, it's sewn up. There was even further opportunity for all key stakeholders to look at and talk about what it is our vision is as we move forward. What is it that we need to do to make every one of our scholars successful? As a principal for many years, both on the East Coast and in England and here on the West Coast, I am so abundantly aware of the challenges. I am sometimes too aware of the challenges, but I know that as we move forward with this amazing growth, this amazing trajectory that we're on, can do is the only way we can be. And I will be supportive of what we're doing. And I absolutely concur with what Director Wilson is saying. There has to be a systemic, a structured rollout. And are we getting everything right straight away? We're not perfect, but we are working with one goal in mind, every one of our scholars. And I just applaud the work that's going on.
Thank you. So it's been 3 years coming. April 29th, we had the final core planning team meeting for the strategic plan. I actually campaigned on this, believing we needed a strategic plan. It was more than 2 decades ago that this district did a strategic plan, and I'm very excited about where it's coming and where it's going and what we will see. We have a new tagline that's coming. We're going to have a new emblem that will recognize as what our district is doing, and all the work that has culminated over the last year is finally going to come to fruition in the next few weeks. The Heroes Banquet, it's the first annual Heroes Banquet. We recognized 45 community partners that help us take care of our student scholars every single day. And it just was great to be able to honor them. To that, tied together with the strategic plan and what we can do for our student scholars, it's just amazing. And it does take a village to do that. And then, as was mentioned, we've done 3 board recognition nights. We have 4 more to go. The excitement around all of that, it's amazing how we are coming together and really doing recognition at all different levels that we need to within the board, the banquet, and then the individual schools that be able to do it. So we're making sure that we recognize all that we can, and I just appreciate all the work that the board is doing and the superintendent partnership is doing and the staff to take care of our student scholars. So thank you, everyone. All right, our next item is contract authorization. Dr. Campbell? Are we just going to do this, or we have some presentation? No, I'm just going to do it. Okay, all right. So at this point, board, I would entertain a motion around 2016-17 contract authorization for certificated staff.
You can call on me.
Well,
Do you want me to read the motion?
It's in the green. It's in the
go ahead.
green.
Oh, the green one.
It's the green, yeah.
Okay. I move that the Board of Education approve the issuance of contracts to all certificated administrators, classified administrators, and exempt staff, except for those who have retired, resigned, or have been recommended for non-renewal for the 2016-17 school year, effective July 1, 2016.
All right, so we'll do the contract administration first. So I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? So just to clarify, we're going to do contract authorization for certificate administrators, classified administrators, and exempt staff
Sorry.
first. No problem. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now I'd entertain a motion for the 2016-17 contract authorization for certificated teachers.
I move that the Board of Education approve the issuance of contracts to all certificated teachers except those who have retired, resigned, or have been recommended for non-renewal for the 2016-17 school year, effective September 1, 2016.
So I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now, Dr. Campbell, sub-ins 3.
So one of the things that we know, when we were strategic planning, we talked a lot about the whole child. And we know that if we're going to have our scholars academically ready, they're going to be career and college ready, there are also components around their perception of their school experience, the social emotional arena that we engage our students in, and to talk a little bit about that and share our interpretation of this sub-in. In other words, how will the organization hold itself accountable is Interim Chief Academic Officer Martin Boonstra, as well as our new Assessment Director, James Crawford. They will be sharing that rationale along with some of our metrics. Take it away.
Okay. Good evening, Board President McAnally, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Campbell. I'm pleased to present to you this evening the monitoring report for Sub-N3 Personal Responsibility and Citizenship. Our purpose and goals this evening are to outline the rationale and research supporting Sub-N3, our interpretation, to illustrate the alignment to the goals within the strategic plan, and to review various baseline metrics and provide next steps related to establishing these metrics for Sub-N3. As always, we guide ourselves in our theory of action. It guides our commitment related to our behaviors and actions as an organization, with always our ultimate goal coming down to using the information and data we derive to positively impact student achievement. So a few key questions we'll answer tonight. What are the key non-cognitive factors that a student must acquire in order to be an academically successful scholar and responsible citizen? And we'll also look at school districts, school teachers, students need to understand these non-cognitive factors in order to ensure success for each of our scholars. For your reference and recall, the third sub-end is, each student will take responsibility for his or her academic success and exhibit positive ethical behaviors, treating others with dignity and respect. Sub-end 3 is essential to accomplish the goals of sub-end 1 and 2. Think of this as a three-legged stool, with sub-end 1 being the ultimate goal and the legs of the stool being the crucial legs that are needed in order to create students that are career and college ready. In the legs of the stool, you can see 1, academic achievement at each grade level, 2, confidence and voice in accessing college, career, and other post-secondary options, and 3, personal responsibility and citizenship. Specifically, sub-end 3 is aligned with personal responsibility and citizenship. While sub-end 3 is directly aligned with strategic goals 2 and 3, they also support the accomplishment of goal 1, the foundational years, 4, mastery of core subjects, and 5, high school graduation through successful transitions. If you remember Conley's research, he outlined 4 factors of college readiness. The first sub-end is graduation and attainment. It includes academic skills and knowledge that students need to attain, and also the academic behaviors that lead to creating confident students. The second sub-end is academic achievement. This includes the academic skills and knowledge that students need to attain, academic behaviors that lead to creating the confident students, and the academic strategies that students need to think deeply about themselves and the world around them. The third sub-end emphasizes personal responsibility and citizenship the third sub-end leads to academic achievement. Sub-end 3 is rooted in the non-cognitive factors, which Conley has since renamed success factors, that lead to teaching students to become learners. This is the essential bridge to accomplish sub-end 1 and sub-end 2. This includes the contextual skills and awareness, as well as the academic behaviors students need to experience success through engagement and motivational factors. In order for students to gain the prerequisite skills and confidence and attainment outlined in Conley's 4 factors of college readiness, each student scholar must experience success through engagement and motivational factors. Sub-end 3 is best interpreted through the 5 types of research-based success factors, or habits of mind, non-cognitive factors. This success factors have transformative effects on students' experience and achievement in school, improving core academic outcomes. They consist of academic behaviors, academic perseverance, academic mindsets, learning strategies, and social skills. These 5 non-cognitive factors greatly impact students' experience in schools, particularly improving core academic outcomes as described in sub-end 1 and sub-end 2. Through the development of these success factors, students are able to think deeply about information, manage their time, get along with their peers and adults, persist through difficulties, and navigate life experiences they will face in and out of school. We can measure these non-cognitive factors through the following metrics that you see on this slide: student report card measures, learning behaviors, student time in class through attendance and rates of discipline, student perception related to engagement, motivation, challenge, and safety through surveys, and finally, by student engagement through participation in extracurricular activities. So keeping these non-cognitive factors in your mind, when we use the key characteristics of a successful learner that are derived directly from our elementary school report card, we find that the data derived measures 3 non-cognitive factors: academic behaviors, social skills, and academic perseverance. This is aligned to Goal 2 of the strategic plan. We will measure this by the percent of scholars meeting expectations on non-cognitive factors on standards-based reporting. Specifically, our report card measures a student's ability to respect others, actively participate in learning, use good organizational skills, complete work cooperatively in groups, and follow school and classroom rules.
Board President McAnalloy, members of the board, Superintendent Campbell. Here you see the percent of students meeting standards and the various key characteristics of successful learners in our elementary report cards. This is report card data, pulled from our elementary schools. 83% of our elementary students work cooperatively in groups at a level 3 or a 4. 79% use good organizational skills. 88% respect others. 86% follow school and classroom rules. 79% complete work, and 79% actively participate in learning. Having this information at the elementary school as part of the elementary report card is a step in the right direction. What we will be doing is revisiting the non-cognitive factors that are outlined in the report card, ensuring that they are in district alignment with Goal 2 of our strategic plan. We will also be pulling together a standards-based grading and reporting committee. This is where we will move to place similar non-cognitive factors in the secondary report card as well. Specifically, this team will establish core beliefs, identify the research-based non-cognitive factors of K-12 reporting, and selecting a metric to collect this data.
In order to measure time in class, or rather the percent of scholars participating in at least 95% of classroom instructional time, we will be attending to, while also attending to and measuring the 3 non-cognitive factors, academic behaviors, perseverance, and mindset. We will be using attendance and discipline rate data. This specifically aligns to Goal 2, thriving, confident, responsible individuals.
Here you see 2014-2015 attendance rates as compared to other districts in the Puget Sound region. Specifically, notice that Federal Way Public Schools ranks 31 out of 33 surrounding districts. Federal Way Public Schools' current attendance rate is at 22.28%. This slide represents the 2015-2016% of students' attendance rates by group. It's important to note that 3 in 10 students with an IEP or low income are chronically absent. Students with an IEP at rate of 33% and students who are low income at a rate of 31%. It's also important to note that our Pacific Islander and Native American subgroup have the highest rates of absences. Students who are Pacific Islander at a rate of 35% and students who are Native American at a rate of 44%. Our next step is to provide schools with ongoing school-level data reports and monitor this district-wide. This is an example of data from one school of students who are chronically absent, broken down by subgroup. Our new baseline EDGE data analytics tool, thank you, provides real-time attendance data to principals, teachers, and counselors. In addition, it identifies on a daily, weekly basis the students in need of engagement for school attendance. In addition to school attendance, discipline data is another data point to measure in relationship to non-cognitive outcomes. This shows the short-term and long-term suspension rate for the 2014-2015 school year. The discipline rate indicates the rate at which groups of students are being suspended. Our district average during the 2014-2015 school year was 4.79%, or about 5 out of every 100 students disciplined through short, long-term suspension or expulsion. The highest rates in Federal Way Public Schools, about 10%, were among students with 504s, IEPs, or our African American group.
In order to measure the percent of scholars engaged in at least one extracurricular activity while also measuring the 2 non-cognitive factors of academic behaviors and social skills, we will be using the data captured from student participation in athletics and other extracurricular activities. This aligns to Goal 3, engaged, empowered, and critical thinkers. So even though the bullet says only athletics, we'll definitely be including other extracurricular activities.
This data set shows extracurricular data through our athletic program for the spring of 2015. In the orange is the percent of students enrolled in that subgroup, while in the blue represents the percentage of total participation as a comparison. Moving forward, like Martin said, we'll continue to not only pull and monitor extracurricular data through our athletics program, but also other extracurricular opportunities.
The data provided for the participation in student-led conferences measures 3 non-cognitive factors: academic behavior, academic mindset, and learning strategies. This aligns with Goal 2 and 3. This information will allow us to measure the percent of participation of students and families during student-led conferences. Specifically, we are using the rate of participation for our elementary schools here. This is our elementary spring SLC conference data. There was no data for secondary. It's important to see that 13 elementary schools, about 59% had less than 80% participation rate. Brigadoon was the only school with over 90% participation rate. There were no schools that had less than 50% participation. Student surveys and perception data is one of the most exciting and important pieces of data that we can use. Our intention will be to measure the 3 non-cognitive factors: academic mindsets, behaviors, and academic perseverance. We will be measuring the percent of scholars that report feeling that their school is safe and welcoming, and that they are also engaged and challenged. The data derived from these surveys supports Goal 2 and Goal 3. So while we don't have specific surveys yet, here's a sampling of questions that we might ask our scholars to measure their level of motivation and engagement related to their learning and future success. In the future, we will provide surveys to gauge the motivation and engagement directly from student voice. There are a few examples from the slide, like I find the content in my class relevant to my life, or I feel what I'm learning is important to my future. Additionally, while we don't have one survey tool that will measure students feeling safe and that they feel welcomed at school, we are looking forward to including questions like these to our students, which will provide us with invaluable information to inform our district improvement efforts. And with that, that ends our Sub-N3 report, and we'll take any comments or questions.
Board directors, any comments, questions? Director Eto?
Well, for me, the takeaways from our work study session were that student surveys would never be used for teacher evaluations. That was one thing. Second thing was that we're going to have disaggregated data because we have realized that this is subjective in terms of these assessments, so that we can make sure that we don't see any disproportionality relative to negative assessments, one group being called confident as opposed to being disrespectful, or energetic as opposed to defiant. That sort of a thing. And so this is going to set us a good baseline from which to examine that. And the third takeaway for me was that citizenship has nothing to do with U.S. citizenship, and it's tied to the RCW that speaks of being a global citizen. And so students are to be learning how to be courteous, considerate of others, treating others with dignity and respect. And so to me, it's very straightforward.
Thank you. Vice President Wilson.
I also appreciate the fact, I know when we first initiated standards-based grading, the conversation around academic knowledge and what one might call work habits or work ethics. And so with this conversation also clearly provides an opportunity for that conversation to happen, where students' academic knowledge won't necessarily, their grade won't be impacted by what someone might consider behavior or homework or something that kind of stands in the way, oftentimes not because of what the situation is, but oftentimes who that student is. So I appreciate the work as we move forward.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Board directors, next we did a survey, and I just want to make sure that I can come up with a single voice for all of us. So if we can look through the comments that were made, and let me know if you have anything additional to be shared.
I'd just like to say how valuable I find doing a survey, because it really gets you digging into the material. So we had the work study last week, and then over the weekend, we carry out this survey, and it really gets you down deep. So I really enjoy that. exercise.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you.